Hey, Scorpio, come sit with me for a moment because what I'm seeing in your cards today is something we really need to talk about. I just pulled cards for you, and honestly, the energy around what's being reborn in your career is so profound that I had to take a breath before even starting this reading. You know what I love about doing readings for Scorpios? You guys never do anything halfway. When transformation comes for you, it's never just a little shift. It's the kind of change that reorganizes your entire existence from the inside out. And right now, as I'm looking at these cards spread out in front of me, I'm seeing exactly that kind of energy building around your professional life and creative power. Before we dive deep into what the cards are showing, I want you to think about something. Have you noticed lately how your relationship with work has been feeling different? Not necessarily bad, just different. Like maybe the things that used to excite you don't quite hit the same way anymore. Or perhaps you're feeling this restless creative energy that you can't quite name. That's not random, Scorpio. That's your soul preparing you for what's coming. The first card I pulled for you is the Four of Pentacles. And wow, we need to sit with this one for a minute. When I see this card in a reading about career rebirth, it's telling me something really specific about where you've been energetically. The Four of Pentacles often shows up when we've been holding on so tightly to what we have that we forget to leave space for what wants to come in. And I'm not talking about being careful or responsible with your resources. I'm talking about that fear-based grip we sometimes have on our current situation, because at least it's familiar, at least it's safe. Think about this honestly, Scorpio. How much of your current professional situation are you maintaining not because it lights you up, but because you're afraid of what might happen if you loosened your grip even a little? And here's what's interesting about this card showing up first in your reading. It's not judging you for that. The universe isn't saying you've been doing something wrong. What it's saying is that this protective stance you've been taking with your career energy served its purpose for a season, but that season is ending. The Four of Pentacles is showing me that you've been in a phase of conservation. Maybe you've been in survival mode professionally, or maybe you went through something that made you pull back and play it safer than you naturally would. And that was valid. That was necessary for a time. But what I'm seeing now is that this tight grip is actually preventing the rebirth that's trying to happen. You can't birth something new while you're clutching the old with both hands. I want you to really feel into this because I think you already know what I'm talking about. There's probably some aspect of your work life where you've been operating from a scarcity mindset without even fully realizing it. Maybe you've been staying in a position that's beneath your actual capabilities because it feels secure. Maybe you've been holding back your most innovative ideas because you're afraid they're too risky. Maybe you've been undercharging for your services or underselling your value because asking for what you're truly worth feels too vulnerable. The rebirth that's coming for you, Scorpio, requires you to recognize that safety and growth don't always coexist. Sometimes the most unsafe thing you can do is stay exactly where you are. And I'm seeing that your soul knows this. That restless feeling you've been having, that's not dissatisfaction for the sake of it. That's your deeper wisdom telling you it's time to open your hands and see what the universe wants to place in them. Now let's talk about the Five of Swords because this card is bringing some really interesting energy to your reading. When the Five of Swords shows up in a career context, it often points to conflict, competition, or situations where someone felt like they had to win at all costs. And I'm curious what this brings up for you because I have a feeling there's been some kind of professional battle or competitive situation that's been weighing on you more than you've been admitting to yourself. Here's what I'm sensing about this card in your reading. The rebirth happening in your career energy isn't just about external circumstances changing. It's also about how you've been relating to success itself. The Five of Swords can indicate that somewhere along the way, you adopted a win-or-lose mentality about your professional life. Maybe you've been operating in environments that were cutthroat or competitive in ways that never quite felt aligned with your soul. Or maybe you internalized the message that success means outperforming others rather than fulfilling your own unique purpose. I want you to think about whether there have been times in your career where you won something, but it felt hollow, where you achieved what you were supposed to achieve, but it didn't bring the satisfaction you expected. That hollowness, Scorpio, that's important information. That's your soul telling you that the game you've been playing isn't the game you're meant to be playing. The rebirth that's happening is partly about releasing this combative relationship with your work. It's about understanding that your career isn't a battlefield where you need to defeat others to claim your place. The universe is so much more abundant than that. There's space for everyone to thrive in their own unique way, and the energy that's trying to be born through you right now is asking you to step out of competition and into creation. This card is also showing me that you might need to do some forgiveness work around your professional past. Maybe there are situations where you feel like you were treated unfairly, where someone took credit for your work, where you were passed over for opportunities you deserved. Those wounds are real, and I'm not minimizing them. But carrying the energy of those battles into your new chapter is like trying to plant a garden while your hands are full of rocks. The rebirth requires you to put down what you've been carrying so you have space to cultivate something new. The Ace of Pentacles just came through, and this is where everything starts to shift, Scorpio. After the tightness of the Four of Pentacles and the battle scars of the Five of Swords, the Ace of Pentacles is like the universe extending its hand and saying, "Here, take this seed. Something genuinely new wants to grow through you." Aces are pure potential. Fresh starts, the beginning of entirely new cycles. And when we're talking about the Ace of Pentacles specifically, we're talking about tangible new beginnings in the material realm. This is career opportunities that actually manifest, creative projects that generate income, skills that translate into marketable value. This isn't just about feeling inspired. This is about that inspiration having real-world legs. What I love about seeing this card in your reading is that it confirms the rebirth isn't just metaphorical. Something concrete is being offered to you right now or is about to be offered to you. And here's the thing about aces. They require you to reach out and take them. They're invitations, not guarantees. The universe is presenting you with a seed, but you have to be willing to plant it, water it, tend to it even when you can't yet see what it's going to become. I'm sensing this Ace of Pentacles might be showing up as a new opportunity that seems small at first glance. Don't dismiss things just because they don't immediately look like the massive breakthrough you've been hoping for. Sometimes the most significant rebirths begin with the tiniest seed. Maybe it's a side project that captures your interest, or a conversation that opens an unexpected door, or a skill you develop just for fun that turns out to have professional applications you never imagined. The key with this ace is that it's asking you to approach your career with beginner's mind. All that expertise you've accumulated, all those years of experience, they're valuable, but they can also calcify into fixed ideas about what's possible for you. The rebirth happening wants you to be willing to not know for a while, to experiment, to try things that might not work, to be a student again even in areas where you've been the expert. And I'm seeing something else with this ace. It's connected to your authentic value system. The new beginning that's trying to emerge isn't just about making more money or achieving more status, though those things might come. It's about aligning your work with what you actually value. It's about building a career that feeds your soul, not just your bank account. For some of you watching this, that might mean totally reimagining what professional success even means. The Queen of Pentacles is here, and she's bringing such grounded, nurturing energy to your reading, Scorpio. After the freshness of the ace, the Queen is showing you what that seed can mature into when it's cared for properly. The Queen of Pentacles represents mastery in the material realm, but it's mastery that comes from patience, consistency, and a deep understanding of how to work with natural rhythms, rather than against them. This card is telling me that the career rebirth you're moving through isn't about hustle, culture, or forcing things to happen through sheer willpower. It's about cultivation. It's about showing up regularly for your growth, tending to your skills and opportunities with the same care you'd give a garden. The Queen of Pentacles knows that you can't rush growth, but you also can't neglect it. There's a middle path of engaged patience that she's modeling for you. I'm seeing that this card might also be pointing you toward the importance of creating security differently than you have before. Remember that Four of Pentacles energy we started with, where security came from holding tight? The Queen of Pentacles shows a completely different relationship with security. She's secure because she's resourceful, because she's skilled, because she's built something sustainable. Her security comes from her competence and her connection to abundance consciousness, not from fear-based clutching. For your career rebirth, this might mean investing in yourself in new ways. Maybe it's time for additional training or certification. Maybe it's time to finally work with that coach or mentor you've been considering. Maybe it's time to upgrade your tools, your workspace, your professional image. The Queen of Pentacles doesn't penny pinch when it comes to things that genuinely support growth. She knows that sometimes you have to spend money to make money, invest energy to create momentum. This card is also highlighting the feminine approach to professional success. And by feminine, I don't mean gendered. I mean the receptive, intuitive, cyclical way of operating. You know how you've been taught that career growth should be linear, always upward, constant productivity? The Queen of Pentacles is reminding you that nature doesn't work that way. There are seasons of planting, seasons of growth, seasons of harvest, seasons of rest. Your career rebirth might involve learning to honor those natural rhythms in your work instead of fighting them. And there's something here about generosity too. The Queen of Pentacles is abundant enough to share. As your career energy is being reborn, consider how you can mentor others, share your knowledge, create opportunities for people coming up behind you. There's something about that energy of abundance and generosity that actually accelerates your own growth in ways that hoarding and competing never could. Now, the King of Pentacles shows up, and this is interesting because we just had the Queen. When both the King and Queen of Pentacles appear in a reading, it's telling me that this rebirth in your career is about integrating both the nurturing, patient energy and the strategic, authoritative energy. You need both. You can't just be in cultivation mode forever, and you can't just be in execution mode without tending to growth. The King of Pentacles is the master of the material realm. He's built empires. He understands systems, structures, long-term strategy. He knows how to turn vision into concrete reality. And his presence in your reading is telling me that part of your career rebirth involves stepping into your own authority in a new way, claiming your power, owning your expertise, positioning yourself as someone who knows what they're doing. For some of you, this might mean finally going for that leadership position you've been qualified for but hesitant to pursue. For others, it might mean starting your own business or consultancy. For others still, it might mean having the confidence to completely change industries and trust that your skills are transferable. The King of Pentacles energy is about knowing your worth and being willing to demonstrate it boldly. This card is also speaking to financial mastery. The career rebirth happening for you has a strong financial component. It's not just about finding work that's more fulfilling, though that's part of it. It's also about creating genuine financial abundance. And the King of Pentacles wants you to know that this is possible for you, but it requires you to think and act like someone who expects to be wealthy, not like someone who's grateful for scraps. I'm seeing that you might need to upgrade your financial literacy as part of this rebirth. How much do you really understand about wealth building, investment, creating multiple income streams? The King of Pentacles is encouraging you to educate yourself about money in ways that feel empowering rather than overwhelming. You don't have to become a financial expert overnight, but you do need to move out of financial passivity and into financial consciousness. There's also something here about legacy. The King of Pentacles builds things that last beyond his own lifetime. As your career is being reborn, what do you want your professional legacy to be? What impact do you want your work to have? How do you want to be remembered? These aren't morbid questions, they're orienting questions. When you know what kind of legacy you're building toward, it becomes much easier to make aligned decisions in the present. The Seven of Cups appeared, and this card is so important for your reading, Scorpio. After all this grounded Pentacles energy, the Seven of Cups brings in the realm of imagination, possibility, dreams. But it's also a card that can indicate confusion, paralysis from too many options, or getting lost in fantasy rather than taking action. Here's what I'm seeing with this card in your career rebirth reading. Part of what's being reborn in you is your vision for what's possible. Maybe you've been thinking too small, or maybe you've been so focused on practical considerations that you forgot to dream. The Seven of Cups is reminding you that imagination is a crucial part of creation. Before anything can exist in the material world, it has to exist in the realm of possibility. But here's the shadow side that we need to talk about. The Seven of Cups can also indicate that you're overwhelming yourself with too many options. Maybe you have 17 different ideas for what you could do with your career and you're paralyzed because you can't decide which path to take. Maybe you're spending so much time researching and planning that you never actually start anything. Maybe you're fantasizing about your dream career but not taking the practical steps to build it. The rebirth requires you to move from scattered possibility into focused intention. Yes, dream big. Yes, consider multiple options. But at some point you have to choose. You have to commit to one path and walk it fully, even knowing you could have walked others. The Seven of Cups is asking you to discern between genuine opportunities and shiny distractions, between inspired visions and escapist fantasies. I'm also sensing that this card might be pointing to the need to clarify your priorities. What do you actually want from your career? And I mean really want, in your bones, not what you think you should want or what would look impressive to others. The Seven of Cups can indicate that you've been chasing multiple definitions of success simultaneously and wearing yourself out in the process. The rebirth is about getting clear on your own authentic vision and having the courage to pursue it even if it doesn't match anyone else's expectations. There's something here too about discernment between opportunities. Not every opportunity that presents itself is actually meant for you. Some things look amazing from a distance but wouldn't actually serve your path. The Seven of Cups is teaching you to evaluate options not just based on how attractive they seem, but based on alignment with your deeper purpose and values. This is a crucial skill for your career rebirth because you're likely going to have multiple paths available to you. Choosing wisely matters. The Six of Cups just came through, and this is such a tender card, Scorpio. It brings energy of nostalgia, innocence, joy, and sometimes reconnection with the past. In a career rebirth reading, this is fascinating because it suggests that part of what's being reborn in you isn't actually new at all. It's something old that you've forgotten or abandoned. Let me ask you something. What did you love to do before you learned that work was supposed to be hard and serious? What creative activities brought you joy as a child or young adult before you started worrying about whether they were practical or profitable? The Six of Cups is suggesting that your career rebirth might involve returning to some of those early loves and finding ways to integrate them into your professional life. For some of you, this could be quite literal. Maybe there's a childhood dream that you dismissed as unrealistic that actually deserves another look now that you have more resources and experience. Maybe there's a hobby you love that could become a career with the right approach. Maybe there's a version of yourself from years ago who knew something about what you're meant to do that your current self has forgotten. This card is also speaking to healing your relationship with work itself. Maybe somewhere along the way, work became purely about obligation, survival, proving yourself. The Six of Cups wants to bring back an element of play, of genuine enjoyment, of doing things because they delight you and not just because they're necessary. The rebirth in your career energy is partly about recovering this sense of joy and allowing it to inform your professional choices. I'm also seeing that this card might indicate reconnection with people from your past who could play a role in your career rebirth. Maybe an old colleague reaches out with an opportunity. Maybe someone you went to school with has information or connections that open doors for you. Maybe you need to reach back out to a mentor or teacher who believed in you years ago. The Six of Cups often brings these kinds of full-circle moments. There's innocence in this card too, and innocence isn't naivete. It's approaching things with openness and trust. As your career is being reborn, can you let yourself be a bit more innocent? Less jaded about what's possible? More willing to trust that things can work out. The cynicism you've accumulated from difficult professional experiences is understandable, but it might also be preventing you from seeing and seizing opportunities that are actually there for you. The Wheel of Fortune is here, and Scorpio, this is huge. This is one of the major arcana cards that speaks to destiny, cycles, turning points, divine timing. When the Wheel of Fortune shows up in a reading about career rebirth, it's confirming that what's happening for you isn't just about your personal effort or choices. There are larger forces at work, universal timing, karmic cycles completing and beginning. This card is telling me that you're at a pivotal moment in your professional life. The wheel is turning and you're moving from one phase into another, whether you feel ready for it or not. Sometimes the Wheel of Fortune brings change that feels out of your control, and that can be uncomfortable. But here's what I want you to understand. The wheel turns for everyone, but how you position yourself on the wheel determines how you experience its movement. If you've been feeling like your career has been stuck or stagnant, the Wheel of Fortune is saying that period is ending. Movement is coming, momentum is building, circumstances are shifting, and while you can't control the wheel's rotation, you can control how you respond to it. Are you going to resist the change and make it harder than it needs to be? Or are you going to lean into it, trust the timing, and look for the opportunities hidden in the transition? I'm also seeing that this card speaks to the cyclical nature of professional life. Maybe you've been through career challenges before. Maybe you've experienced setbacks, failures, times when nothing seemed to work. The Wheel of Fortune is reminding you that those down cycles were never the end of your story. They were part of a larger rotation that's bringing you back around to an upcycle. What you learned during the hard times is exactly what you need to make the most of the good times that are coming. There's also something here about karma and destiny in relation to your work. The Wheel of Fortune suggests that your career path isn't random. There are reasons you've had the experiences you've had, met the people you've met, developed the skills you've developed. This rebirth is about all those seemingly disparate pieces finally coming together into a coherent pattern. You're about to see how everything you've been through is preparing you for what's next. This card wants you to pay attention to synchronicities and signs right now. When the Wheel of Fortune is active, the universe tends to communicate more obviously. You might notice meaningful coincidences, unexpected connections, doors opening in surprising ways. Don't dismiss these things as random chance. The wheel is turning in your favor, and these synchronicities are showing you which direction to move. The Hanged Man appeared, and I have to be honest. Scorpio, when people see this card, they often worry because it looks uncomfortable. Someone suspended upside down, waiting, unable to move. But this is actually one of the most profound spiritual cards in the deck, and its presence in your career rebirth reading is incredibly significant. The Hanged Man is about surrender, new perspectives, voluntary sacrifice, seeing things from a completely different angle. After the movement of the Wheel of Fortune, the Hanged Man is saying, wait, before you rush into action based on your old understanding, you need to pause and let your perspective shift. The rebirth happening in your career requires you to see your work, your value, your purpose in a fundamentally new way. This card often appears when we need to stop trying to force things and instead let things unfold. Have you been pushing really hard to make something happen professionally and it just keeps hitting walls? The Hanged Man is suggesting that your effort might be misdirected. Not because you're not capable, but because you're trying to move forward using old maps that no longer apply to where you actually are. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is stop, hang suspended for a while, and let a new understanding emerge. I'm sensing that this card is also speaking to sacrifice, but not in a martyrdom way. The Hanged Man represents voluntary sacrifice, giving up something less important for something more important. What are you willing to release from your current career situation to make space for the rebirth? Maybe it's the status of a certain job title. Maybe it's the security of a regular paycheck while you build something new. Maybe it's the approval of people who don't understand your vision. The Hanged Man asks what you're willing to sacrifice for your evolution. There's deep wisdom in this card about non-action being a form of action. We live in a culture that glorifies constant productivity, but sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pause, rest, reflect. Let things percolate beneath the surface without forcing them into manifestation before they're ready. The career rebirth you're moving through isn't going to be rushed. The Hanged Man is asking you to trust the pause, trust the germination period, trust that something is developing even when you can't see obvious progress. This card also speaks to spiritual perspective on material matters. The Hanged Man sees the world upside down, which means he sees truly. As your career is being reborn, you're being asked to bring more spiritual awareness to your work. What is your career in service to? How does your work contribute to your soul's growth? How can your professional life be an expression of your values rather than just a means to an end? These are Hanged Man questions. The Page of Cups completes your reading, and I love this, Scorpio. Because pages are messengers, and the Page of Cups specifically brings messages from the emotional and intuitive realms. This card appearing at the end of your career rebirth reading is telling me that intuition is going to be your guide through this transition. Not logic alone, not strategy alone, but feeling, sensing, knowing in your gut. The Page of Cups is youthful, open, creative, emotionally available. After all the heavy transformation energy we've been working with, this card brings a lightness, a sense of possibility and play. It's reminding you that career doesn't have to be this heavy, serious thing. You can approach your work with curiosity and wonder. You can let yourself be delighted by what you discover. You can follow what feels good rather than what seems most logical. This card often indicates that creative or artistic elements are important to your career rebirth, even if you don't consider yourself a creative person. Maybe you need to bring more creativity into how you solve problems at work. Maybe there's an artistic side project that wants to become more central to your professional life. Maybe the way you communicate about your work needs to become more emotionally resonant and less purely factual. The Page of Cups is encouraging you to honor your creative impulses. I'm also seeing that this card can indicate the beginning of a new emotional relationship with your career. Maybe you've been approaching work from a very mental place, all strategy and analysis. The Page of Cups is inviting you to feel your way forward, to notice what excites you, what drains you, what makes you come alive. Your emotional responses are giving you important information about which direction to move. This page is also a messenger, and I'm sensing that you might receive important news or information soon that affects your career trajectory. It might come in an unexpected way, through an unexpected person. Keep your intuitive channels open. Pay attention to what people are really communicating beneath their words. Notice the energetic quality of opportunities, not just their surface-level attributes. Finally, the Page of Cups brings a message of hope. Whatever challenges you've faced in your professional life, whatever disappointments or setbacks, this card is saying that emotional renewal is possible. You can fall in love with your work again. You can feel excited about your future. You can approach your career with an open heart instead of a defended one. The rebirth happening is emotional and spiritual as much as it is practical and material. So, Scorpio, as I look at all these cards together, here's what I'm seeing about what's being reborn in your career energy. You're moving from a tight, fearful, competitive approach to work into something much more abundant, aligned, and authentic. You're releasing old battle wounds and scarcity patterns. You're being offered genuine new beginnings that require you to plant seeds and tend them patiently. You're integrating both nurturing and authoritative energy, both dreaming and discernment. You're reconnecting with early joys and allowing destiny to guide you through a major turning point. You're surrendering to a new perspective and following your intuition forward with an open heart. This rebirth isn't going to happen overnight, and that's okay. Real transformation takes time, but I want you to know that the universe is supporting you in this. The energy is shifting in your favor. Your willingness to evolve, to release what no longer serves, to step into new possibility, that's going to be rewarded. Trust yourself, Scorpio. Trust the process. Trust that what's being reborn through you is exactly what's meant to emerge. Your career is about to reflect your soul in ways it never has before, and that's going to be beautiful to witness. Thank you for sitting with me through this reading. I hope something here resonated for you and gave you clarity or confirmation about what you're feeling. Take what serves you and leave the rest. Much love to you on your journey.